The great pickle debacle of 2025. Things are all in an uproar in Manchester, and let's talk about it. You're watching
The New England Take.
The New England Take. I'm your host, AJ Kierstead. WKXL, 1450 AM, 101.9 FM at Manchester and 103.9 FM in Concord. Picks up the show 8:30 AM on Saturdays, as well as the granitegrok.com shares the show out every Saturday evening on their podcast too, which I really appreciate both those outlets for sharing the show. Be sure to check out newenglandtake.com to get everything I am up to, and subscribe on YouTube as well as all your favorite podcast platforms. So, excited today to be joined by Joseph Kelly Levasseur. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today about, we're going to talk about this. We'll probably talk a little bit more about Manchester. We're hoping Dan Mowery, the center point of this conversation, joins the show eventually here, but welcome to the New England Take.
Thank you. My honor, and I'm very, very glad you called me, and happy to do your show.
All right, so I happened to originally catch this on nhjournal.com. I will post a link to the article in the episode description if you're checking out the podcast version of it, or YouTube. Can it? Manchester tells resident to put a lid on homemade pickle sales. And it's always been one of those things, like I live in Concord. You live in these cities where they always have these, they just got to step too far when it comes to certain things that drive you nuts, like little things like what Dan Mowery, who is a Manchester resident, got into it with the health regulators in Manchester. Who knew that such a thing would exist at the city level in the state of New Hampshire? What spawned this into being an issue?
You know, you make a good point. Most of the state is actually regulated by the state. Most of the towns and the cities across Manchester and Nashua, and I think a couple other places, have their own health departments, and we certainly do. As I've been a restaurant owner for 34 and a half years, so I've been dealing with the health department for a really long time. And then as the Alderman at large for the city of Manchester for the last 7 terms, I obviously have dealt with them on many, many different levels. This one kind of got its own little world and went viral. As of today, the post that I made, the second post that I made, had 30,000 views, and that's countrywide. The most I've ever had, probably 100 views on something I've posted. Being a very conservative Republican, I was been heavily shadow banned by Twitter. It looks like I might be coming out of that, but Facebook the same. But this whole thing just started with Dan probably a month or so ago, just putting a picture up on Facebook saying, look, I made all of these pickles, and he showed a picture of himself with a whole bunch of jars and said, if anybody wants any, let me know. And then somebody posted, can I buy some? And he jokingly said, oh, a paying customer, woo-hoo. That was it. He doesn't sell it. He doesn't sell them anywhere. He makes them and he gives them away to friends. He actually has a garden out in Manchester on a huge spread. I know the gentleman who lets him garden over there, and it's a pretty good sized garden. So he's been, with all the rain, cucumbers have been being produced at, real rapid numbers, and they're very healthy because of all the rain we've had. So he's been pickling a lot more. And so he put that up, and my understanding is that a neighbor snitched him out to the health department in Manchester. And he's had problems with the Manchester Health Department in the past when he has block parties. And I guess as long as you're having a private block party, you can serve food. Well, I guess a few Democrats decided to show up at this block party, and they got in, they were allowed to come in, and that breached whatever protocol there was for serving food. And he was warned to shut it down. He fought it. He came out. He was very pissed off about it. And he's been pissed about the government. He's been pissed about the mayor. And all of a sudden, this letter shows up. I did a right to know request today. I want to find out how many homeowners, not commercial restaurants, but homeowners have been given a letter like this. I want to see if any other people have been harassed. My bet is it's a very small amount of people, but they definitely went after Dan for pickling pickles, I guess, right? Jarring pickles. What's interesting is when I posted it on X, it took off on its own. Libertarians, Free Staters, Republicans all over the state weighed in. Then they started coming in from Mass. I guess there's a few Republicans in Massachusetts. And Vermont.
You got the only ones involved.
Yeah, we weren't the only ones, right? And then New York and all these places came in, and somebody sent me a photo of the homestead exemption that is allowed by the state of New Hampshire. When I posted that, I thought that was what the law was for the state. And it basically says non-hazardous foods are exempted. And pickles happens to be one of them. Come to find out, hazardous foods are good old American pie, brownies, and cakes. So you're not allowed, you have to have a license, you have to have a commercial grade kitchen, you got to pay $150 for the fee, etc. But pickles were exempted. So I thought that was it. It was going to die on its own after that. Well, come to find out, Manchester had to respond. I told them not to. I said, stay out of it. But the health department official, Anna Thomas, decided to respond with a 4-page letter to myself and the Ward 6 Alderman, who happens to be a very conservative Alderman also, and telling us that the power of Manchester and the power of the exemptions allow them under RSA 4717 that they can actually implement stricter laws, rules, and regulations than the homestead exemptions at the state level, which they have done, and the stringent requirements are stricter than the Homestead Act. So that was published and sent out and has created the uproar that we are now seeing. It's pretty amazing that it's taken on a life of its own the way it has.
Yeah, it's totally crazy, and it's really it's great to see it actually getting tons of attention, even at the regional and it looks like possibly the national level here. National level also is like WBZ picked it up, obviously the Journal, Union Leader, everything of that nature. I mean, that's what's required to really fix something like this. You got to rattle the right tree, and sometimes you got to rattle all the trees to figure out which one hits the right nut.
Yeah, and I've been doing that for a long time. I do have a community access show that's well watched. I've been doing it for 26 years, and that is really just a show to expose things. And it's why I don't get the information when it usually occurs. It's always I get a snippet, and then I have to do some investigative work, and then I find out what's going on, and they don't like it. The city doesn't like it. They talk about transparency and accountability, but they don't really want to be transparent, and they certainly don't want accountability. And, you know, I saw the letter that was posted by Dan Mowery, who was the subject of all this crazy going around, and I posted it and posted the letter on X, and it went very viral. And then, of course, the response by the city saying, we have the right to do this, and we stand by our right that you cannot jar pickles. And so now we've spawned Picklegate and at least a dozen or so memes, which I literally spent yesterday laughing my butt off because they were so good. And there's a lot of good meme creators out there. And this is literally just growing and growing and growing to the point that I don't know where it's going to end, but it's going to end at some point, because I put in a request for the next Alderman meeting that Manchester adopt the homestead exceptions that are right now with the state. And then I want to see further ordinances in the city of Manchester that allow you to bake a cake and a pie and brownies and everything else, which I have received really strangely, actually not strangely, but a lot of calls have come in from moms and pops worried about the brownies they've been selling at, sports
events.
This
is an old school New England thing, especially
Correct.
where everyone bakes things. They have bake sales and then you have your farmers markets where not everyone there has all the proper permits or anything like that. They're just looking to, make a few bucks on the side, interact with their community. It's not necessarily they're trying to get rich. They're trying to just get out in the community, and it's a fun way to do it and make your money back. So you're not taking everything out of pocket, because people can't afford to do that. You talk about the cost of food as a recurring thing that we always talk about, and you want to be able to just recoup it and get involved.
Yeah, they want a 6-burner propane, gas stove. They want an Ansel system in case you burn your house down. Specialized fire. You have to have a fire inspection, a health inspection. You have to have a license. And people are baking cakes, brownies, pies, and every time you go to one of these events, it's not a joke, but the lemonade stand has been mercilessly bandied about across the internet for years. And we have the same issue. You can't have a lemonade stand. Well, after the blowback from going after, 7 and 8 year old kids trying to make a buck, they've laid off of those. And we have issues in the city where people make soup and they bring it to the homeless and they bring food and everything. They're basically violating that law every single day. And the only one that seems, well, there's been one or two other people that I think have probably fallen under the acts of the health department. But this guy specifically, and you now have created an underground, number one. Number two, people are going to be afraid to post on Facebook their homemade apple pie.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, come on over and have some.
You make it worse when you act this way, because then people start doing it completely under the table, where people are doing things where they're doing it in secret, where they're more likely to make mistakes. They're more likely to not get called out for, it's like, hey, why do you do it this way? You should probably not do it this way because you're going to make people sick and things of that nature. It's the whole nature of like black market anything. If you make it a black market where everyone's doing things that are technically illegal, you don't know what's happening. If it's just a friendly community thing, you're just going to want to take care of your neighbor. You're not going to have this paranoia where you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, I want people to show their French breadsticks on Facebook. It makes me hungry, gets me in the mood, and I want to go make some myself, right? And I love it when people post their food pics. I am a big fan of watching all the food shows myself as a restaurant owner over the last whatever amount of years. I've had to, compete with the hot dog guys out on the streets. You can get a lunch for $3, and my cheapest lunch was $6. But I always enjoyed those businesses, and I always believe competition is good, but I'm one of the biggest pastry lovers of the world. I mean, I can't help myself when I go by a pastry shop. I've got to grab something, and I certainly love doing that at flea markets. Are you kidding me? The Greek festivals that are going to be, ongoing the next couple of months are going to be hitting us. Halloween's coming. This is ridiculous, and I'm glad that it has arisen. And I don't know if the timing is just happens to be the city of Manchester is going through its election. The mayor and Alderman school board is up for election in primary in September and November. And this may have turned into a hotbed issue. So we'll see how it plays out at the next Alderman meeting. And we'll see whether or not, these people are going to say we want to change, or the Democrats are going to be, well, wait a minute, it was a Republican that brought this up. So we hate canned pickles. There is a thing as Trump derangement syndrome, and there's a Levasseur derangement syndrome in Manchester. And Dan Mowery is, he's a gay Republican. God forbid you're a Republican and being gay at the same time, and you're outspoken and you're a small government guy. The left doesn't like him, and so they're hammering him away at him. And I think he's having the last laugh right now, because I think the supermajority of people don't like this heavy-handed government regulation and, cease and desist letters coming to your home. It's a very chilling effect on people. It has a very chilling effect on people, and I've gotten calls that they're nervous about it.
Now, have there been any voices in support of what the health department's doing, or maybe you don't have to necessarily call names if you don't want to, but people that you that haven't said anything, that you're surprised they haven't said anything?
Yeah, actually, I haven't heard. I've heard a peep out of two aldermen out of this, and both of them align with me. I haven't heard anything from the other alderman, and the mayor has refused to speak on the record about it. And privately, I think he feels obligated to support the department head. And I don't know what's going to come out of this, but my understanding there have been some double secret probation meetings about it, which I have not been invited to or privy to, but they're circling the wagons over this, and maybe they're hoping it'll just die out, but it will not die out. I wish the meeting was Tuesday instead of a week from Tuesday, while people are hot under the collar over it. So, it's be interesting to see how this is going to work out. But I would say the amount of people that are outraged by this right now is at the level I've never seen before over a singular issue. It's funny, there are really big, important issues out there, like real serious stuff, right? Taxes, your streets, potholes, schools. And it took the pickle to really get under a lot of people's skin about government regulation and overreach.
Yeah, it's a total micromanaging thing. I mean, we talk about the lemonade stands, but I mean, like, your local nonprofit just having a table in front of some grocery store or whatever in Concord, you're technically supposed to get a permit for $10 or something. Like it's not a moneymaker. It's not really doing anything. If there isn't an issue at hand, you're just wasting everyone's time and causing more bureaucratic nonsense that's not gonna fix anything. I mean, if there's a fight or something over a corner and you got to figure something out, it shouldn't be something forever that just spoils the water for a community of so many people, tens of thousands of people.
Well, the irony of the fact that they are very concerned about you dying from pickle juice, while at the same time handing out needles to the drug addicts that are they're actually injecting heroin into their bodies. Now, we've had this fight with the health department for years over this, and they literally have a guy making $150,000 a year from COVID funds that is walking down the street handing out things that you can ingest into your butthole to take your drugs, needles, condoms. They give you the rubber band to put around your arm to get your vein out. They actually hand out these supposed health kits for drug addicts, and they give them to anybody who wants to take them that are walking down Elm Street. They go into the camps. We've had, I believe, 21 deaths over the last 3 months from overdoses. And the health department, our health department, has argued vigorously, vehemently, that these are important things to be given out because it'll reduce HIV, it'll reduce drug deaths, it'll bull crap. You're going after a guy who is canning his pickles, and you're handing out needles to drug addicts. I would bet, as a restaurant owner, that the amount of people that get sick from eating at a restaurant that has a commercial license and all of these regulations thrust upon them, specialized coolers, all at 37 degrees, etc., have had more people get food poisoning than any mom or pop making an apple pie out of their own kitchen, So it's ludicrous that we have come to this point, and that
there's a level of you personal responsibility that you should enable the population to be able to have. Where, hey, I want to go buy the pickles from the guy next door. Hey, Bill last week got sick off of them. Well, was it just that one batch? Was it something like that? Yeah. You communicate, you talk. Once again, community, like personal responsibility and community is key.
Right. And the pickles that you get in the store have all kinds of chemicals in there, right? And now Maha has taken hold all over the United States, and staying away from processed foods and eating clean food has become, it's taken on a life of its own. What's more clean than the guy who is making pickles from scratch in his house, following all the right procedures, sterilization, and everything that he's doing? What's wrong? That's basically where you want to go, right? You want to get a homemade pie that that's going to, like the ones that sit on a shelf for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because they have so much preservatives in there. So you want to push that, I would think, and get people to eat cleaner food that is literally from the garden across the street, right? Than the ones that we don't know where they're coming from, that have been sprayed with all sorts of chemicals and pesticides. So when you look at it in that way, you're probably better off buying local anyway, right? And then you have the heavy hand of government telling you, no, you can't jar pickles and give them away to your friends. Now, it's important to note that he has not sold any of those. I think he'd accept a couple of dollars because the jars, believe it or not, are expensive. They're like almost $2 each. And, the ingredients, of course, and the time and everything, whatever, very, very low overhead. But, I mean, he's not selling them. He just wants to give them out. People ask him for them all the time. Right now, his orders, I'm not kidding you. If this guy opened up Dan's Pickles or Mowery's Pickles tomorrow, he could probably make some big bank real quick, because there's so many people out there that are literally asking to buy his pickles and where they can get them from. So this is taking on a big ass life of its own.
All right, so last 10 minutes here. I want to let's just talk politics in Manchester, because it's fascinating to me. So I live in Concord. It is the most left-wing stronghold imaginable. It's not as bad as Portsmouth per se, but it's pretty damn close in my opinion.
Poor people.
So, but Manchester, it's you on there. Like, how many Republicans are aldermen?
The first time since 1996 we've had a Republican majority. 7 aldermen, Republican aldermen, couple going rhino, and a Republican mayor. So it's the first time in a long time, and I'm the first Republican chairman since 1996, to the chagrin of many. They've tried to take that away from me a couple of times. The Democrats on the board.
I mean, it's bonkers just to consider the fact you moved from Joyce Craig to Merouet, let alone the fact that it's actually hitting the more, I mean, you talk alderman, it's the grassroots level. It's the people going and knocking on doors of your neighbors and such in order to get elected and to get the right attention out there. What do you think is driving this transition?
Well, when it happened in Manchester, and I felt that it would happen in Manchester, I was firmly in the belief that this country, not only Manchester, but if Manchester went red because of the homelessness, the drug problems, you can't go out in the street, the crime problems. I mean, our Ward 1, Ward 2, heavy Democrat wards, Jay lost them by only 200 votes, whereas Craig had won them by 1,600 votes. So Jay was able to go in, bring up this, and the people in Manchester just had enough. And then I predicted a red wave throughout the country, and Trump would win. And I was laughed at, like you wouldn't believe about it. But people have had enough. The question, and I said on my show last night, will you people, now that everything's been cleaned up in Manchester or is heading in that right direction, go back to your beliefs and go back and now re-elect all these Democrats because you don't like Trump? Or are you going to be smart and stay the course and get 3 terms or 4 terms in a row with strong conservatives keeping the city under control? This election in November is really making me nervous, because I think we were the harbinger of what I anticipated would happen countrywide. Now I'm nervous to see if this will be the harbinger for the midterms. My prayer is that we keep what we have, maybe gain a seat or 2, and that'll send a message that, we're going to be okay in the midterms. So I'm very nervous about losing Congress and then having the impeachment game played on Trump for the next 2 years. I think we need 3 solid terms for the president, 3 Republican more terms, 3-4 more year terms to really straighten this country out and put it right back where it needs to be. At least 2. So if it's Vance, I love Vance, I love DeSantis. If those guys could get it for 2 more terms, I think we could wipe out the deep state, get people in there that are serious, and don't take crime in D.C. and carjackings as the norm. It's become the norm.
Yeah, and at the local level, it just helps normalize it so much more. Like you continue to have majorities. It's really, I kind of have a feeling that the tight majorities we have in Concord and in D.C. being what they are, where it's just a few votes, only drives the polarization worse. It doesn't allow there to be a normalcy. I mean, say what you will about the neocons and neolibs of the early 2000s, but they at least were able to interact in a way that decepted everybody, but where at least they're able to come across that, hey, there's a level of normalcy going on. Yeah,
you're right. And I think 2 more terms will get us to where people. I've been to states where I'm surprised. I went to Arizona one time, and there was like 5,000 places you could camp for free. I was blown away by that. There are, like Texas, right? There are states like you don't go on a person's property in Texas. They can shoot you if you walk on there unannounced, right? I mean, they have laws, and some of these states have such freedoms. And then you have New Hampshire, which is a live free or die state, but you can't can pickles. It's not a real good message to send to the world. I mean, to the other states to move to New Hampshire if we're not allowing you to can foods. It's just preposterous that the live and die state that allows you to drive a motorcycle without a helmet and a car without a seatbelt, but you get a cease and desist letter over pickles. That is ludicrous. And I'm glad the light's being shed right now. I think this will help. I think that this will fire up I've already noticed on the post that Senator Tim Lang is all over it. Victoria Sullivan's all over it. A whole bunch of Republicans are all over this, and they're going to do some changes for this. Good changes that are going to help everyday average Americans and New Hampshire residents, no matter what party you're from. Republicans aren't the only ones making cake, bread, and canning pickles, right? This reaches across every party line and every political ideology. This should really be something that brings everyone together.
So what's the feeling? Let's move over to homelessness in Manchester, because that's such a key issue. I mean, it was scary to go around Elm Street whatsoever 2 years ago, before Rouet went in place, and there was the political transition that really took place when it came to handling this issue. What's the feel you're getting from residents now after seeing all these changes? I've heard from so many businesses like, this is great. We're finally able to not be scared to open our doors in the morning. But what about the residents?
Yeah, I never carried a gun in my life until the last couple of years. I didn't used to carry one on myself. But we did our show on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. It was dark during the winter. We had homeless drug addicts doing drugs in the streets, pooping all over the place, living in sleeping on the sidewalks. And I've been fighting like crazy against the sleeping on sidewalk ordinance we had, saying it was and then we were told, well, it's unconstitutional, throw them off. So once Rouet got the Supreme Court decision, he finally went with me and said, okay, let's get him off the sidewalks. And that has worked miracles, especially downtown. And to Rouet's credit, he's gotten a lot of money and gotten a lot more money for police action, for overtime, to create these these little squads that can go out and really go after all these guys. Most of these guys have warrants for their arrest and they don't show up in court. So we've been very, very strict. We pushed it really hard, and we've been able to make a great amount of progress. We still have a long way to go, but boy, considering what we were like in the last 6 years under liberal crazy woman Craig, who just literally allowed it. I mean, built camps for them under bridges, for crying out loud. So we've come a long way, and Trump is coming a long way across America, and people have had enough of it. Even Newsom has to try to figure out how to hide him now. And, it's a huge, huge issue. You can't feel comfortable walking down your streets in your own commercial areas. You don't want to bring your kids down there. But now it's a completely different feeling. It's quiet. It's pleasant. You can feel the air blow on your neck, whereas before you're really worried about who's going to grab you by the neck, right? And so you don't have people, the panhandlers are still there, but they're not as prevalent as they were. Our cops have done a magnificent job, and Rouet has done a really good job because he has delivered on cleaning up downtown. Now, they're being pushed to other parts of the city, but I think once bail reform takes effect very soon, we'll be able to get a lot more of these people off the streets, and hopefully judges will stop releasing them for some of the real serious crimes that we've seen.
So where can people check out your show?
Well, my show is Wednesday nights. It's the Will and Joe Show. You can get it on Comcast. You go on to mcam.org in Manchester, and it plays. And you can join me on Facebook, Joe Kelly Levasseur. It's just simply that name on Facebook. If you friend me, you can jump on, and then our show is posted every week. And we do it live on Facebook, which has really been a great advantage, because a lot of people they don't pay for Comcast anymore, unfortunately, where we really had major audiences. But now we've been able to pick them up on Facebook. We get pretty good audience from that. And so it's fun. And you can probably see me in your neighborhood your neighborhood newspaper pretty soon, especially over this story. And your show, I appreciate you inviting me. I'd like to get this out everywhere we can. So I was very happy with the call. It's unfortunate Dan Mowery couldn't join us, but I'm betting that he's being interviewed by CNN or somebody right now as we speak.
Yeah, definitely. He's busy. Yeah. Definitely share everything out you can about the story, because it is really important to raise awareness. People don't think about it. They go, "Oh, well, the health department, they're trying to do this or that. I mean, it must be for the right thing to do." Well, not necessarily. Okay, let's think critically on this and consider what we should do. And I really want to thank Alderman Levasseur for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
No, it's great. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's nice being on the other side of the microphone for once. So thank you so much, and I hope I see you again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, too. All right, New England Take Talk. Yeah, you too.
All right.
NewEnglandTake.com to check out more from the show. WKXL, NHTalkRadio.com. Thank you for picking up the program. You can listen to Facing the Future Next if you're listening over there. That broadcast happens 8:30 a.m. every Saturday. And also GraniteGrock.com for sharing out the program also on Saturdays. And we'll talk to you soon.